He never missed a step, until last night. The palace was silent, until Evans screamed. Gregory Alcott's body lay twisted at the foot of the east corridor. One shoe off. His hand clenched. Eyes open. Hastings bent forward. Did he fall? Poirot's gaze didn't blink. People fall forward. He's curled sideways. The palace manager arrived breathless, fumbling. He must have slipped. Poor man, that floor's centuries old. Poirot knelt slowly. No dust on his coat. He brushed a gloved finger against the stone. Clean? Someone cleaned it? Hastings asked. Or someone never touched it? Poirot's eyes scanned the wall. A faint scratch. Fresh. Near the brass candle hook. Alcott was precise, always wrote at the same hour, always walked the same steps, Poirot muttered. Someone interrupted that. A guard spoke from behind. He wasn't scheduled to be here. That wing's been locked. Then who unlocked it? Poirot asked. No answer. Just shifting feet and nervous glances. Poirot leaned closer to the body. A torn page in Alcott's pocket. Blank. Just the corner initials. HR. Poirot stood. There are no bruises where there should be. You mean from the fall? Hastings asked. Poirot nodded. No wrist fractures, no shoulder impact. He walked 4 steps away. Stopped. Pointed. Look. A shallow scuff. Shoe rubber dragged. But in reverse. Backwards. Poirot's voice lowered. He was not running. Silence. Just the quiet hum of the radiator. And Poirot's breath. He didn't fall, Poirot whispered. He was placed. Some doors lock themselves. This one didn't. The east wing had been sealed for months. No one was allowed in. Yet Gregory Alcott was found there. Poirot walked slowly. His hand glided along the cold stone wall. He stopped near the arch. A curtain, dark velvet, hung unevenly. Too clean. Poirot tugged it. A tiny hook snapped. Behind it, nothing but wall. But the dust beneath had been disturbed. Hastings leaned in. Someone tried to hide something. Poirot nodded. Or entered and forgot to reset it. A faint smell drifted in the air. Old wax. Not melted. Freshly used. Someone lit a candle recently, Poirot whispered. He looked at a brass candlestick placed too close to the frame. Its base had scratches. As if twisted in a rush. Poirot tilted it. Click. A small panel behind the shelf unlocked. A mechanism, Hastings said. Poirot raised a brow. Not listed in the palace records. Inside, only air. And one thing. A scratch deep and jagged on the edge of an antique portrait's frame. Old paint chipped. Gregory fought, Poirot muttered. Or resisted. Hastings. But why hide the frame again? Poirot. Because someone didn't want it noticed. They stepped further inside the corridor. Echoes followed. But no footsteps. Poirot inspected the floor. Marble chips missing, from one side only. He pressed down. No sound. It wasn't the fall, he said. It was the cover-up. At the end of the passage, a small window. Painted shut. Poirot tapped it once. Dust floated down. But the sill? Clean. Someone opened this recently, Poirot whispered. He looked around. The silence grew thicker. A creak behind them. It was Evans. Sir, this hallway's never unlocked. I've cleaned around it, never inside it. Poirot asked, was it locked last week? Evans hesitated. Yes, but the gardener said something odd. Hastings, what? Evans glanced back. He said the flower pot outside moved, just once, then back. Poirot stepped out quickly. Looked to the right, a narrow edge lined with 3 pots. Middle one, slightly off-center. Poirot bent down, pushed the soil aside. Metal clinked. A key. Old, blackened, but still sharp. Hastings froze. Poirot held it up. "The lock never failed," he said. "It was never locked at all." Hastings finds the key inside a flower pot. His journal was complete until that morning. Gregory Alcott kept everything. Notes, thoughts, names. Nothing was ever missing. Poirot sat at the desk in Gregory's room. A leather-bound journal lay open. Clean handwriting. Perfect margins. Except the last page. Gone. Poirot touched the torn edge. Still fresh. No yellowing, no crease. Ripped recently. Hastings leaned in. Did he remove it himself? Poirot shook his head. Gregory never left gaps. He wrote till the end. Poirot called in butler Evans. "Who last saw Mr. Alcott?" Evans cleared his throat. "Night before he passed. Around 9, he was writing." Poirot tapped the journal. "This was open?" "Yes, sir." Poirot. "Was he alone?" Evans paused. "Number?" Hastings straightened. "With whom?" Evans lowered his voice. "I don't know, but I heard raised voices. Someone argued with him." Poirot. "Where?" "Library, just before he came back to his quarters." Poirot stood. Head turned slightly. Was the voice male? Evans. "Yes, older, firm." Poirot paced the room slowly. His shoe clicked near the fireplace. Stopped. He bent down. A piece of paper tucked behind the coal box. Slightly burned. Only one visible line. "She'll deny it again, but I have the proof now." Poirot didn't blink. He called Hastings. Showed him the partial note. Hastings whispered, "She'll deny it. Who's she?" Poirot didn't answer. He opened the drawer. Checked the bottom. Empty. Too clean. Poirot muttered. "He hid it here. Someone took it." He pulled out a second drawer. Inside, a fountain pen. Ink still fresh. No one who runs rewrites. "But someone who's planning prepares," Poirot said. He sniffed the pen. Lilac. Same scent as Lady Halbrook's gloves. Poirot stepped back. Looked around. Gregory was ready to reveal something. That much is clear. "But he didn't get to," Hastings said. Poirot pointed to the spine of the journal. Thin imprint. A heavy pen rested there for hours. "Waiting." He wrote. He stopped. He listened. He argued. Then he was silenced. Poirot opened a side compartment. Found a torn envelope. The seal. Royal Office. Confidential. Poirot exhaled slowly. "It's not just history. It's personal." Hastings, what was on that last page? Poirot didn't smile. Didn't blink. Just stared at the torn edge. And whispered. He was about to write the name. "She came to admire history, but stayed for secrets." Lady Halbrook entered the drawing room at 3:15 p.m. That's what the visitor log said. But Poirot frowned. "Too neat," he whispered. He walked to the guard. "Did she arrive exactly at 3:15? The man hesitated. "Actually, she came earlier. I saw her before 2. Poirot didn't smile. He nodded once. In the hallway, Hastings caught a glimpse of Lady Halbrook. A grey coat. Smooth, clean. She turned to them. Smiled. Such a sad loss. Mr. Alcott was passionate. Poirot nodded slightly. "You visited the archives often, madame?" "Oh, yes. I adore royal history." Her voice was light, casual. Poirot tilted his head. "You knew Mr. Alcott?" "Briefly." She avoided eye contact. They walked side by side. Hastings noticed her gloves. Pale grey, polished. He leaned closer. A faint scent, lemon oil, and ink? Poirot noticed too. "Fresh gloves, yet used with paper," he said quietly. She paused at a hallway turn. "This leads to the Queen's Gallery, doesn't it?" Poirot raised an eyebrow. "Indeed, that room has been renamed. Only staff know that. She covered it quickly. Oh, I meant the old name. I read it somewhere. Poirot said nothing. He watched her steps. Too confident, too directed. Lady Halbrook stopped by a painting. She stared at it too long. Poirot joined her. Did Gregory show you this? No, she replied fast. But I've seen it before. Poirot turned. There's no public record of it. It was restored last week. She blinked. Oh, then perhaps I'm mistaken. They walked again. Poirot asked, Did you ever enter the West Corridor? She laughed. Oh no, that's off limits, isn't it? Poirot nodded slowly. Yes, very off limits. They parted ways. Poirot and Hastings walked in silence. Then Poirot spoke. She lies. Hastings, you're sure? Poirot. She knew names only insiders use, smelled of ink, recognized hidden art, arrived before the time she claimed. Hastings, then why lie? Poirot turned toward the hallway, his voice low. She wasn't just here for admiration. He paused, then asked, Why did she lie about the West Corridor? They say old walls hear everything. It started with a whisper, not a voice, a sound behind stone. Poirot stood in the West Corridor. He touched the wall. Cold, dry, still. Evans joined him. There's a story, he said quietly, about a missing crown piece. Poirot raised an eyebrow. Go on. Old staff say it was hidden, long ago, behind one of these walls. Gregory was looking for it. Poirot nodded. He told you? Evans shook his head. Number? But I saw him, often, late at night. He always came alone, always near the archive door. Poirot turned toward the far arch. Which wall? Evans pointed. The one with the portrait of Prince Henry. Poirot didn't move. He just said, interesting. Later that day, Poirot met with the palace advisor. A quiet man, sharp suit, measured words. Poirot, you've heard of the missing crown piece? The advisor smiled. A harmless legend. Poirot watched him. No royal artifact is harmless. The advisor's smile faded. What exactly do you mean? Gregory believed it was real. He was close. The advisor blinked. Gregory Island was imaginative. Poirot leaned forward. Why do you flinch when I say his name? Silence. Poirot continued. Was Gregory searching too deep? The advisor stood. This palace holds many secrets. Not all of them should be found. Poirot stood too. But Gregory found one, and paid the price. He walked out. No glance back. That night, Poirot and Hastings returned to the West Corridor. Empty, silent. Poirot leaned near the wall again. Pressed gently. The stone didn't move, but air escaped, faint, from a crack. Poirot whispered, There's space behind this. Hastings stepped closer. What do we do? Poirot pulled out a small metal rod, tapped 3 stones. One clicked. The wall echoed. Suddenly, a sound, very faint. Behind them, Poirot turned. A whisper, barely a word. But it was there. Poirot didn't speak, didn't move, just listened. The whisper again. Soft. Then silence. Hastings froze. You heard it too? Poirot nodded once. Someone, or something, is still watching. Dust settled long ago, but the footprints are fresh. The tunnels ran under the palace. Cold, narrow, forgotten. Poirot held a lantern. Its glow flickered on stone. Hastings followed close. Why would anyone come down here? Poirot whispered. Because this place remembers and reveals. They turned left. Air grew thicker. Cobwebs, damp walls. But no rats, no insects. Too quiet. Poirot bent down. A faint mark in the dust. Shoe print, Small, recent. He touched it. Still soft. Hastings knelt. Fresh, and not Gregory's size. Poirot nodded. Someone smaller, lighter, likely a woman. Farther in a ripped thread on a rusty hinge. Deep grey. Poirot plucked it. Wool, cloak fabric, expensive. They moved deeper. A box cracked open. Inside, old parchment. Torn. Mouldy. But then something sharper. A scent. Rose cologne. Mixed with the musty air. Hastings sniffed. That doesn't belong here. Poirot closed his eyes. Lady Halbrook wears it, subtly. Another turn. A soft rustle from above. They looked up. A crack in the ceiling. Suddenly, tap. Something dropped. A metal sound. Poirot reached down. An old key. Bronze. Worn. Still warm. Hastings stepped back. It just fell? Poirot held it in his palm. This tunnel isn't empty. Someone's ahead of us. The light flickered. The dust shifted again. Barely. Poirot looked at the footprint trail. It didn't end. It turned right, deeper into the shadows. And then, silence. The lounge was quiet. Poirot walked in first. Evans followed. A single glass sat on the side table. No coaster, no mark. Just still water inside. Poirot didn't touch it. He stared. Evans cleared his throat. I clean every night. Every surface. But that glass, I didn't place it. Poirot nodded slowly. You noticed it last night? Evans, yes. It was already there when I walked in. He pointed. Same spot, same level. Poirot pulled out his handkerchief. Carefully lifted the glass. No smudges on the base. Clean-cut crystal. But on the rim, a fingerprint. Poirot examined it under a small lens. Hastings leaned closer. Gregory's? Poirot shook his head. Number. He pulled a small file. Gregory's print smooth, narrow, left tilted. The print on the glass wider, angled inward. Different. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Too graceful, too arched. He flipped another file. Lady Halbrook's cup from 2 days ago, same print. Exact match. He exhaled. Hastings blinked. She was here? In Gregory's room? Evans stepped back. She wasn't supposed to be. Poirot didn't respond. He placed the glass back. Carefully. Then turned to Evans. You said the room was locked? Evans nodded. Always after 10. Only Gregory had a key. Poirot tilted his head. And yet she entered. Evans swallowed. I can't explain it. Poirot looked back at the glass. It reflected the dim ceiling light. No lipstick. No residue. Just intent. She came here, Poirot said quietly. Uninvited, unseen, and she left one thing behind. The room was cold. Still. Hastings stepped closer. Why wouldn't she take the glass? Poirot answered. She wanted it found. Evans whispered. I thought I was early, but when I came in... Poirot interrupted. You saw it already there? Evans nodded slowly. Poirot stared into the water. Then said, She wasn't just hiding. She was making a point. Evans, that glass was already there when I arrived. Melted wax tells no lies. Poirot knelt beside the burn mark. It was just outside Gregory's office. He traced the floor with 2 fingers. Blackened. Circular. Small splatter of wax around the edges. He looked up. 3 candlesticks stood on the fireplace mantel. 2 matched. 1 didn't. Hastings noticed. Odd design? Poirot nodded. Brass stem, 1,811 engraving. The other 2 are 1,840 replicas. He picked up the odd one. Heavy, cold. Base still carried old residue. Hastings tilted his head. Could it be from the palace archive? Poirot turned. Exactly where Gregory worked. They brought it to the palace advisor. Quiet room. Locked cabinet in the back. Poirot held the candle forward. This was found by the archive door. The advisor looked at it. I believe it's part of our renovation stock. Poirot raised an eyebrow. Renovation? The advisor nodded. Yes, we updated many fixtures last month. Poirot set the candlestick on the desk. No scratches on the base, not moved in years, yet wax on the floor is fresh. Silence. Poirot stepped closer. This piece doesn't match the others. It's older. The advisor hesitated. Perhaps a mix-up. Poirot's voice sharpened. Then why does it match the 1811 royal set? The room held stillness. No movement. Only the ticking of the wall clock. Hastings leaned forward. The 1811 set. Wasn't that Gregory's research focus? Poirot gave a slow nod. The advisor adjusted his collar. Possibly. I don't know the details. Poirot stared at him. Then said, he was studying the original layout of royal artifacts. This candle should have been in the west wing, not in a hallway near his body. He placed the candle down. Poirot walked around the desk. One more thing. The length of wax melt shows it burned for nearly 40 minutes. Hastings blinked. That puts it at the time Gregory was last seen. Poirot didn't reply. He picked up the candlestick again. Smelled the wick. Burnt linen. Not standard. He placed it back. Turned to the advisor. Someone moved it. Lit it. Then left it to burn. The advisor looked down. Silent. Poirot took one step back. Then said quietly, Then why does it match the 1811 royal set? Something faint. Sweet. Not candle wax. He touched the inner edge of the holder. Sticky, fresh. He glanced at Hastings. Rose cologne. Hastings' eyes widened. Again? Poirot nodded. Same as in the hidden passage. He looked at the advisor, then whispered, She was here, not just recently. She lit this candle and stayed. New mini cliffhanger option, optional replace. Poirot stared at the brass. There were two people in that hallway that night. One watched, the other burned time. One guessed, 2 sets of shoes. Hastings stared at the security log. One name, Lady Halbrook. No one else entered that wing, officially. Poirot stepped into the corridor. Sunlight streaked across the floor. He crouched. 2 sets of shoe prints. One narrow, heel clicking. Halbrook's briar. The other heavier, flat. Different direction. No curve in the stride. He touched the marks. Soft impression. Recent. Hastings said quietly, That's not her size. Poirot nodded. Number, and her visit was logged. This second person was never recorded. They followed the prints. They stopped near a side bench. Poirot knelt. A smudge of grease on the tile. He pulled out a cloth. Wiped gently. Boot tread. Unique pattern. Worn at the edges. Not military. Not staff. Hastings leaned in. You know it? Poirot shook his head. But I've seen it. It was near the hidden passage. They followed the marks. Hastings checked his notepad. She arrived at noon. Left before 3. Poirot stopped. Not alone. They turned right. Boot prints continued, to Gregory's quarters. The hallway air felt still, but something hung in it. Unease. At the door, the prince paused, turned, then continued down the other side. Poirot whispered, Someone entered with her, or followed her in secret. Hastings stared. But why not sign in? Poirot replied, Because names create evidence. They opened the quarters. No noise. But Poirot noticed a missing rug. "Why remove a carpet?" he muttered. On the wooden floor, a faint mark. Same tread, same boot. Poirot looked at Hastings. They stood here, watched him, maybe waited. They walked out again, followed the boot trail down the hall, then out a service door, to the courtyard. No cameras there, just wind and old stone. Poirot turned to Hastings. The visitor came and left, unseen, unnamed, but not unnoticed. They looked at the last print, right at the threshold. Poirot stepped over it, then said, "Boot marks lead to Gregory's quarters, and out again." Poirot opened the drawer. Row after row of documents, dated, stamped, neatly ordered. He stopped at one folder, slightly out of line. Edge curled, label newer. He pulled it out. 1837, Royal Correspondence. Hastings leaned closer. "That's Gregory's research year." Poirot opened the folder. Letters. One with a wax seal, broken. But the contents, missing. Only a note left inside. Poirot read aloud. "She will kill to silence this." Hastings blinked. "Who wrote it?" Poirot pointed to the lower right corner. "Initials, G. Gregory Alcott," Poirot said. They scanned the rest of the drawer. Nothing out of place. Until Poirot tapped the bottom panel. It shifted. A false layer. He lifted it. Inside a worn leather journal. Gregory's handwriting. Pages full of timelines, notes, corrections. Then, a ripped edge. Half a page missing. Poirot flipped forward. Found a full entry. "I confirmed the affair. The woman in grey was present. This could ruin everything, but I must report it. She watched me in the corridor. I fear her now." Hastings whispered. He knew he was being followed. Poirot nodded slowly. More than followed. He was threatened. They turned the page. One final line. "Lady H." Poirot's finger froze on the paper. Hastings read it aloud. "Lady H." Silence. Poirot looked at him. She knew what he was researching. Hastings stepped back. That means the motive wasn't personal. It was preservation. Poirot held the journal tighter. She would protect the legacy. At any cost. They heard a creak outside the archive room. Both turned. No one there. Poirot closed the drawer. Locked it. He whispered, "This isn't just a murder. It's a cover-up." Hastings, stunned, repeats softly, "Lady H." She wore perfume, but smelled like fear. Poirot sat across from Lady Halbrook. The library door closed. No one else present. She looked calm, but her hands clutched her gloves. Tight. Poirot leaned forward. "You were in the west corridor. Why lie?" She said nothing, her eyes fixed on the fireplace. Poirot waited. Then, she whispered, "I was ashamed, not guilty." He tilted his head. "You entered at noon. You left at 3. But someone else came with you." She blinked. "No one." Poirot raised a candle stub. "It held your scent. You lit it. You waited." She swallowed. Her perfume lingered, but beneath it faint sweat. Poirot stood. "Gregory was alive when you arrived?" She nodded. I followed his voice. He was reading aloud. Something about 1837. Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't kill him, but I saw the blood." Poirot's voice dropped. "And left. I panicked," she said. "I didn't know who else was watching." Poirot stepped back. "You denied being there at all." "I thought it would destroy me." He paced slowly. "Then tell me who else was there." She looked away, said nothing. Poirot held up the boot tread drawing. "This man, His prints led in and out. Her face changed. "You're chasing the wrong noble." Poirot froze. She wiped her eyes, tightened her voice. "I lied to protect the family, not to protect a killer." Poirot leaned closer. "Then who are you protecting?" She stood, looked Poirot in the eyes. "Someone with more to lose than me." Poirot's gaze narrowed. "And more power?" She didn't answer, but her silence spoke volumes. She says calmly, "You're chasing the wrong noble." The palace advisor sat across from Poirot. Polished shoes, hands folded, face still. Poirot opened the journal. Gregory noted a name. A woman's name, but he feared someone else more. The advisor gave a faint smile. "A historian's paranoia." Poirot replied calmly, "Not when he ends up dead." The advisor shifted. "Lady Helbrook has ties to questionable history." Poirot's brow lifted. "So she's your suspect?" A pause. "Her behavior is inconsistent." She was close to Gregory. Poirot nodded slowly. "Interesting? Because you were there too." The advisor didn't blink. "My office is near the archive." Poirot leaned forward. "Which explains the smell of fresh ink. And old wax." The advisor opened his hands. "Many people pass that corridor." Poirot stared at his wrist. "A small scratch. Fresh." "Did the corridor scratch you?" Poirot asked. The advisor glanced down. "Said nothing." Poirot continued. "You told the guards you left at noon. Yet the log says your badge opened the archive at 1:15. A silence. The advisor responded, "I went back to collect papers." Quickly, Poirot pulled out the false drawer piece. This was open. The advisor stiffened. Poirot tapped the table. "You wear gloves often." "But not today." The advisor glanced at his fingers. Slight tremor. Poirot spoke slowly. "You tried to move Gregory's body, but he was too heavy." Still no answer. Poirot lowered his voice. "Why did you go back that day? And why lie about it?" The advisor whispered, "I wanted to protect the monarchy." He was digging too deep. Poirot nodded. "And what did he find?" The advisor looked away, then back. He found proof of something that was supposed to disappear. Poirot stared hard. "The missing letter?" The advisor didn't respond. Poirot stood, walked to the door, then turned. "You were in that room, weren't you?" Poirot freezes mid-step, eyes locked. "You were in that room, weren't you?" Loyalty ends when secrets begin. Poirot stood at the center of the room. Everyone was silent, eyes fixed on him. He began slowly. One key, forged, inserted into the palace's oldest door. Why? Because the real one was never removed. He looked at the advisor. "You said you never entered the archive that day, but Gregory's journal says otherwise." The advisor stayed quiet, face still. Poirot held up the page. "This entry, it's not his handwriting." "Planted to confuse us?" Hastings asked. "But why go so far?" Poirot replied. "Because the truth was dangerous. Not just to a person, to a legacy." He turned to the others. "Gregory discovered records from 1837. A royal scandal buried deep. He found names, letters, and motives." The advisor's jaw tightened. Poirot pressed on. "You removed the real entry, planted a vague one, then lured him to the west corridor." Hastings added, "And used the old candle set to make it look historical." "Normal." Poirot nodded. "But the wax didn't lie. The fingerprints didn't lie. And neither did the silence." He looked again at the advisor. "You feared Gregory would speak, and that the monarchy would be questioned." The advisor whispered, "He wasn't just a historian. He was a threat." Poirot stepped closer. "Threat to what?" A title? An image? A symbol? The advisor didn't blink. He was going to publish it. Poirot lowered his voice. So you silenced him? No denial, no anger, only a long pause. Then, the advisor spoke. The Crown deserved silence. Advisor, the Crown deserved silence. Sometimes justice knocks. Sometimes it whispers. Poirot stood in the advisor's office. Heavy curtains drawn. Voices low. The palace legal counsel was present. So was the assistant to the Duke. Documents were on the table. So was a closed folder labelled Discretion. The advisor spoke first. We won't pursue charges. Poirot didn't flinch, but Hastings shifted uncomfortably. You have motive. Means? Admission, Poirot said. What more is needed? The counsel replied. A scandal would harm the monarchy. Old secrets serve no one. Poirot's voice hardened. They served Gregory Alcott. He died for them. The assistant to the Duke cleared his throat. This will be handled quietly. Internally, Poirot stepped back. So the man who silenced history walks free? The room was silent. No one looked him in the eye. Poirot walked to the window. The flag outside waved gently. So did the illusion of justice. Hastings whispered, We can't change their minds? Poirot replied, Number? Not this time. He faced the room. I have solved murders, exposed liars, unravelled plots. He paused. But never have I seen truth locked away by those sworn to protect it. The advisor said quietly, It's not ideal, but it's necessary. Poirot didn't answer. He gathered his notes, closed his casebook, and turned to leave. Hastings followed. But before reaching the door, Poirot stopped. He said quietly, Then history will protect the guilty. Poirot sighs, Then history will protect the guilty. Poirot and Hastings walked side by side. The palace garden was still, footsteps soft on gravel. No words. Not at first. Hastings finally broke the silence. We know the truth, but it changes nothing. Poirot nodded. Yes? Truth uncovered. Justice denied. A breeze moved the hedges. Poirot stopped near a bench. He looked up. Gregory Alcott gave his life. For history. Hastings added, And it will never mention him. Poirot's voice was quiet. Not in the way it should. They? Saturday? The stone bench was cold. Poirot ran his hand along the edge. There's always someone who decides what is remembered. Hastings asked, Will the advisor face anything? Poirot shook his head. Whispers. Private shame, perhaps, but nothing written. Silence again. Then Poirot turned. Do you believe we failed? Hastings hesitated. Legally, maybe, but not morally. Poirot looked straight ahead. The dead do not care for paperwork. They rest in truth, or in silence. A gardener passed nearby. Didn't make eye contact. Poirot watched him, then said, There's no joy in knowing, when knowing changes nothing. Hastings stood. I suppose we move on. Poirot followed. Yes? Another case. Another lie. They reached the garden gate. Hastings paused, looked back. Poirot said softly, Kensington keeps its ghosts, and so do we.